Now, everybody has been asking about this Council of State since it happened this evening, and it's our duty as media to explain to everyone to understand. It's provided for in Article 89 of the 1992 Constitution. Now, let me give you a small background, viewers. The Council of State came about in the Consultative Assembly conversations about the 1992 Constitution to determine whether there should be a second chamber of parliament. What is a second chamber of parliament? A second chamber of parliament is some of those parliaments, as with the United States, with the United Kingdom, or with Nigeria, for instance, where you have two houses, the lower house and the upper house. It doesn't speak to who has more power anyway. It's just two separate houses. Each of them has their responsibility, and each has a domain depending on the matter under discussion. If it's impeachment of the president in America, the second house, the Senate, has more power than the House of Representatives, etc., etc. So they were thinking about in Ghana that should we have two chambers of parliament, one fully elected and one appointed to represent the society. That means appointed from chieftaincy, appointed from religion, appointed from culture, appointed from elsewhere. Other aspects of the society, the centrifugal forces of this society, must be grouped together and put in the second chamber without election. Because as we all know from political science, one of the demerits of the elective principle is that some people who can do political work, some people can do government work, some people who may be extremely qualified by experience and by academic, who can do it, will not submit themselves to election, as we used to say, because of the rough and tumble of elections. So for that reason, some proponents in the Consultative Assembly were suggesting that let's have a second chamber where we will gather some of these people who are very useful for governance but may not be willing to submit themselves to election. Let's gather some of them and put them in the second chamber so that they will have a role to play over legislature. They will have a role to play over the laws. They will have a role to play over the decisions that the parliament, the first chamber house full of politicians will take, because they know that politicians will take decisions according to their political whims and caprices. So let's have a second chamber that will be a check on some of those excesses of politicians, so that something like e-levy comes. One political party says we want it, another one says we don't want it. The second chamber, which is not MPP or NDC, they are not. They didn't go for elections. There is the Asante Hene has two representatives. The Gan Manche is there. The Oche Hene has the Labadi Manche, Yana, Daboya Chief. Everybody is there. Religion, the Catholic Bishops' Conference are there, the Presbyterian, the Charismatic, the Archbishop, the Papa will be sitting there. And then that group of people will look at e-levy and write back to the speaker that we have considered the e-levy. Please, it's not going to work. Forget about it. Or President Mahama brings the Okada bill to Parliament. The Okada bill comes to Parliament. And then the NDC are pushing the Okada bill. There are 188 people. They are pushing the Okada bill, not so much because they believe in it, but they are pushing it because of a party agenda. Now, the framers of the Constitution, some of them wanted us to create a check on this very difficult situation that can actually undermine the democracy if we are not careful, where you have politicians making decisions on their political whims and caprices. So for that reason, the Council of State was created as a compromise between those who wanted a second chamber of parliament and then those who said we don't need a second chamber. That's how the Council of State was created. How do I know this? It's in the writings of the Consultative Assembly. It's also in Dr. S.K.B. Asante's book. Everybody who has written about the Consultative Assembly has written about this. So yeah, it's not difficult to find. I just read it when I was preparing for this one. So now let's go to Article 89. So what has happened today is that all the regions have elected a Council of State representatives. So Greater Accra elects one person, Ashanti one, everybody one. So that's 16 elected representatives of the Council of State. Then President John Dramani Mahama will also appoint one for each region. In Akufo-Addo's days, he used to appoint, I believe, Samuel Okujeto for the Volta region and Adri Blankson for Greater Accra and other places. Okay. Now, John Mahama, the president, will appoint 16. And then the law goes on to add a former IGP, a former Chief Justice, etc., etc. The critical question is, who are the people electing those who are elected in Greater Accra, for instance? Who are they? Where did they get them from? Why didn't I go and vote? Why didn't I know that there's votes? I'm a Greater Accra voter. What happened? That's what I'm going to explain now. Let's go to Article 89 of the 1992 Constitution. It begins with Clause 1 that says, there shall be a Council of State to counsel the President in the performance of his functions. Clause 2 says the Council of State shall consist of A, the following persons appointed by the President in consultation with Parliament. So these are the people the President is appointing. These are the people the President is appointing. One person who has previously held the office of Chief Justice. one person who has previously held the office of Chief of Defense Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces. And then, one person who has previously held the office of Inspector General of Police, the President of the National House of Chiefs, one representative from each region of Ghana, elected in accordance with regulations made by the Electoral Commission under Article 51 of this Constitution, by an electoral college comprising 2 representatives from each of the districts in the region nominated by the district assemblies in the region, and 11 other members appointed by the president. So this is it. Now, who are the people appointing the electoral college? Producer, where do I find that? These are 2 members from the, they are 2 members from the assembly. Okay, so here it is. Regional representatives on the Council of State. Instrument 1993, CI. Regional representatives of the Council of State. In accordance with paragraph C of clause 2 of Article 89 of the Constitution, there shall be elected 1 representative from each region as a member of the Council of State. Electoral College. There shall be constituted an electoral college in every region for the purpose of electing a regional representative to the Council of State. Okay. The electoral college shall consist of 2 representatives from each district assembly in the region, elected by the members of the assembly from among themselves. So the electoral college, we now know, is that each assembly in the region, so Greater Accra region, for instance, Nene Drolo Adom-Otchere won the elections. Now, where is the electoral college coming from? So in Lejokuku Crow or Municipal Assembly, where I live, the assembly would elect 2 people. Ladma, those of you who live in Labadi and Chado area, your district assembly is Ladma. You know that many Ghanaians don't even know their district assembly. It's a problem. And that's why we talk about constitutional amendments every day. I'll come to that. Those of you who live in Labadi, your assembly is Ladma. Those of you who live in Osu, your assembly, they are building a place near plus 233. The other day when it rained, it collapsed everything. Osu people, your place is collapsing. Please, let's get it done properly. So that's Osu. I've forgotten what it's called though. And then there's Ashiedu Keteke, electoral area. They also have an assembly. Then there's Ga North, there's Ga South. There's Otublou. They too, they have something there. So each assembly, and the MPs are members of the assembly. The MPs in the Greater Accra region are members of the assembly in their area. So each MP is a member of the assembly. The assembly elects what they call a presiding member. He operates like the speaker. So the assembly is a local parliament, by the way. In local government conversations, the district assembly is a local government, it's a parliament. And the district chief executive is the president. That's the way it works. So if it's a parliament, who is the speaker of the parliament? There's a guy they elect called the presiding member. He's the speaker of the parliament. And it is high time that people who come out of school from universities must start thinking about entering those places to shape policy. Otherwise, we are in more trouble. Why do I say more trouble? Because we are already in trouble. So if we don't start getting that working, where we have slightly skilled, trained young people getting to be assembly members, we are in more trouble. Okay. All right. So that's what happened today. So that's how people got elected today. So